Hey, this is Mark watching MTC Media. So there's some things, and you're going to see why I'm telling you this at the beginning, um, as I go through this. So there are things that get said online that is complete and utter nonsense. I have been a high school basketball coach. I coached for around 20 years, and I've coached on Under Armour for about seven. So I have been a high school basketball coach a lot longer than a spring slash summer basketball coach. And on top of that, being on Under Armour, obviously you see better players. I tell you this so we can address as adults um, some of the ridiculous stuff I read online. So let's start on the Under Armour side. Playing in the tournaments, not only the Under Armour tournaments, but coaching where I coach, we played in a lot of tournaments that crosses the shoe circuits. So we would coach in tournaments and play in tournaments where it was UAA, Pro 16, EYBL, and 3SSB. So you get all the big boys in one place, selected teams, so on and so forth, to play against each other. And over these years, I have coached against former college coaches. I have coached against former college players. I have coached against former NBA players. So I want to put that out there. In high school, I'm in Northern Virginia, which is considered a hotbed for prospects. Most of the top prospects go to private school and not public school. There are some exceptions. Back in the day when Villanova went to the Final Four and lost to North Carolina, Scotty Reynolds, he played at Herndon, which wasn't public school, but then he played, I believe, EYBL. Jordan Scott, which is a more recent example, he will be heading to Michigan State next year, but he played on Under Armour. The better players are at the private school. I say all this to say, when I hear stuff like AAU coaches can't coach, it's just like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Oh, these kids are seeing, when they get back to their high schools where they got stop. I've been on both sides. So let me tell you the truth about it. The truth about it is that simply a lot of the more sophisticated, collegiately type plays being run, coaching certainly has come on Under Armour more than Northern Virginia public schools. So the idea that the coaching, and I'm going to say some things that's going to tick some people off. When people think what they call AAU, which is not my definition of AAU, but what they call AAU, they think of black coaches who are undisciplined, who just roll the ball out and their kids just run around and do anything they want. Or they think it's little Johnny Dryway's dad coaching and it's daddy ball. And it's not that on the level that I coach on. I can't speak to all these local and regional teams, don't know, don't care. But when I'm coaching against someone on EYBL, that certainly is not the case. When I'm coaching to someone that's on 3SSB, that's certainly not the case. So when I coached against Team Loaded from 3SSB that has kids all the way from OTE to having 4 and 5 kids who are going to play at power conferences, I didn't see any of this just rolling the ball out stuff. Call me crazy, but that's not what I saw. And not every public school, high school coach is qualified. Some coaches are being hired simply because they're in the building. They're not basketball coaches. They are teachers who are filling a role and a need, but they're not basketball coaches. They certainly don't know what they're doing at a high IQ level. So why don't we stop with this whole, when they get back to their high school, they're going to find out. You know what's been my biggest hurdle from having a top kid who has played at one of the top level AAU teams? Simply its role. It hasn't been that they've come back undisciplined. They've come back in a different role. And for me, a lot of times that role has been more of a specified role. Maybe when they played for me, they were the second option in the offense. And then in the spring and summer, they come back and they've been the sixth or seventh option in the offense. Maybe because I played a lot of not complicated type of defenses, but more of mixed defenses. That wasn't always necessarily full court man or whatever the case may be. And maybe there, because they had better players than me, they could do things that was different than what I do. That's where it's been. That is because somebody's using one system that's best for them, and certainly we're using a system that's best for our program, just like they're using a system best for their program. So it's not that they come back and they've been sitting around here playing all this wild basketball and they're undisciplined. I got to get them back in line. Stop. These are all tropes that get dragged on by people who don't coach on there. Trust me, when I coached against Cameron Dollar from Seattle Select, they did not look like a whole bunch of undisciplined guys who didn't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't look like someone's dad coaching it. They didn't look like someone from the hood who's just rolling the balls out to 10 athletic kids. It's none of that. When I coached against breakaway basketball, which was in Under Armour, next year they'll start off in 3SSB with Adidas. If you think that that's what it was, when I coached against Grant Park, who's now Pro 16, when I coached against Expressions Elite, who is EYBL, when I coached against Team Loaded, when they're 3SSB, you honestly think that's what they're doing? So quit playing into your stereotypes, because people know what you're trying to say. Quit playing into your stereotypes. Be intelligent enough to know there's levels to this. There are levels. Whoever is your local AAU team, it might be a bunch of Johnny Driveways playing with his friends, playing for one of their dads. That's fine. Again, I can tell you right now, on the level of spring and summer basketball I coach at, that's not what the case is. And we have some really, really good public school coaches that are there that certainly could coach on EYBL. They could coach or at one of the private schools. They could do those things. We do have those coaches in public school also in Northern Virginia. It's just not all of them. I mean, Carlos Poindexter over at Hayfield can coach on any level. He is that good of a can coach on any level. I don't care what you ask Carlos Poindexter to do. He can coach EYBL. He can coach anything. That guy is that good. He is good. But that's not everyone. That's not anywhere close to being everyone. Furthermore, when you're out on there, the reason why you have to coach in a more collegiate way is because when you get in the higher spring, summer basketball levels, you have to play with shot clock. There's no shot clock in Northern Virginia Public School here. So you have schools that will run through their thing for a minute and a half. That's really not the way the world plays basketball. So again, it's a more realistic game. It is a game more indicative of what basketball is globally. It's not exactly exactly the same. It's more indicative. So yes, the way I coached in public school and the way I coach in that, there's two different ways of coaching. What the playbook looks like is two different things. What my practice plans look like, two different things. What my installation plans look like, two different things. So I'm talking from a position where, one, I was a high school coach a hell of a lot longer than coaching on that level. But I'm not here to run around here and advance all this nonsense that I hear every single year, especially covering college basketball. And I hear from guys who have never coached on that level, who's never had a kid on that level, who has never gone to a tournament that on that level, an EYBL tournament, or they've never been there. They just regurgitate nonsense that has been said for the last 40 years or the last 30 years or however long. And it's just stupid. And like I said, this is coming from someone who's done both. So yes, I can speak from it, from this chair and from this level, I can speak from it. So can we stop with the nonsense and stop with the stupidity and understand that if we have the kids' best interest in hand, that we will work together to get them to the right level of their skill set and not have a bunch of adults acting like children. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.